to be recording this training so that I can send out the recording to Christy, as you had mentioned, and then to our other participants who registered but aren't able to make it today. So what I am going to do, I'm just going to go through and go ahead and mute anyone who isn't already muted. And then if anyone else would like to turn their cameras off, you're more than welcome to, or you can stay on. All right, and can everyone see the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. So, we are doing the disaster preparedness for small businesses. This has been prepared by the Small Business Resource Center, which I got a lot of the resources from the SBA site as we work closely with them with everything we do. So this is brought to you by the Jefferson Franklin Community Action Corporation through the Small Business Resource Center program, and we are funded, as Marquita said, by the U.S. Small Business Administration. The Small Business Resource Center is a nonprofit organization brought to you by the Jefferson Franklin Community Action Corporation, and we are funded again by the Small Business Administration through the Community Navigator Pilot Program. We provide the no-cost consulting to entrepreneurs and small businesses in Jefferson, Franklin, Washington, St. Francis, and St. Genevieve counties in Missouri. We also connect these clients with resources or spokes to assist them with other services such as accounting, legal, marketing, and funding through loans and grants. And this is also free services as well. As a disclaimer, just to let you know, the purpose of this presentation is to provide general information only. It is not intended to be a comprehensive summary of any ordinances, regulations, and/or laws. The information presented does not constitute legal advice. One should always contact their attorney, CPA, and/or any other authoritative agency with any questions or concerns. So let's talk about what a disaster is. We've got our two disaster types, which are natural disasters or acts of God, and then we also have human caused. So when we're talking about natural disaster, this is the part when people say, oh my gosh, Mother Nature hates me, right? So these include just weather-related occurrences. So tornadoes or damaging winds, as we experienced yesterday. We have a big flagpole at our house, and unfortunately, it did not get taken down in time. So by the time my husband got home, he had to pick it up off the ground and saw off the bottom and stick it back down in the ground. So it's about 2 feet shorter than it originally started the day yesterday. Um, Floods. So I live in DeSoto, so we are actually below sea level there. So our main street actually has a lot of problems with flooding, as does the Twin Cities here in Festus as well. We have earthquakes, wildfires, and then other weather-related occurrences. And then we have human-caused disasters. So this is going to be anything that a human sets in motion, and that can be anything from arson, vandalism, civil unrest, threats, pandemic, and cyber attacks. So sometimes cyber attacks, people perceive those as something that happens through AI or repeating code or things like that, but that is all set in motion by a human. So once they, click that button or do what they have to do to get it started, that AI may repeat it, but it is started by a human. And also keep in mind that the Small Business Resource Center, we do have a training coming in March over cyber attacks. All right, so what we're going to cover today, we have pre-disaster, plan activation, post-disaster, analysis of plan, disaster relief, and disaster loan assistance. And then Tom is going to jump in there and speak with you about a few different things regarding the relief and loan assistance. So pre-disaster. So before before there's even a threat of disaster, you need to think about your business and what would happen if a disaster strikes. So pre-disaster, you need to identify the risks and hazards. So what external environmental elements can harm your business? But then to flip that on its ear, what internal elements of your business can harm the external environment? So first, external environmental elements. So obviously, if water gets in your business, that's going to be a big damaging event. Floodwaters are very damaging. As we see, it's pretty much a total loss at that point. As far as internal elements of your business, so take for instance, I once worked for an electronics recycling company. So with that, there is a lot of harmful things that are in electronics that could harm the environment, that aren't good for the environment. So old bubble TVs, that glass actually contains lead. Batteries, they have battery acid. This electronics recycler always also took in motorized things, which before they took it in, you were supposed to drain any kind of antifreeze, fluids, oil, anything like that. But there's no way to completely 110% get all of those fluids out. So if there is a flood and you have a motor sitting there, that means that there's a lot of, oil that's leaking out into the environment as well. So you need to take precautions not only about things getting into your business, but things that are in your business getting out into the environment. You need to establish a team to prepare and respond to emergencies and disasters on behalf of the business. So you need to assign each member a specific response duty and or role. So you need to have those trainings. You need to establish, Brittany, you take care of this. Marquita takes care of this. Tom takes care of this. Christy takes care of this. That way we know when the disaster plan is activated, you know what your role is and you know what you need to be doing. You need to develop a continuity plan with a communication strategy. So if disaster strikes, can my business continue if we, say, work remotely or if we all meet at a remote location? Can we continue business as usual, or do we have to put a pause on our business actions? Develop and maintain an inventory list of any in-stock products as well as equipment. So for this, if you have stock inventory, if you have items that you're selling, if you have items that you are maybe remanufacturing or redoing for customers or anything like that, you need to have that current up-to-date inventory so you know what you may have lost, what may have been damaged, so you can provide the insurance with an accurate, updated list of what all was in your building, what all was in your company or business rather. And you need to keep that manufacturer name and serial numbers for equipment as well as service contact information. So if there is, for instance, a fire, God forbid, and equipment is damaged so much that you can't find who the manufacturer is, what the serial model number, things like that are, you already have that information elsewhere. Again, don't store this information at that facility. Store it offsite somewhere, back it up to the cloud somewhere. So that way you can, again, turn that into the insurance. You can contact that company and see if you can get, parts to fix it or a replacement piece of equipment. And you've also got the information about when it was last serviced and any issues that were there whenever it was being serviced in case, that piece of equipment may have caused the fire. So was there anything that the service tech saw last time that they were there? Develop a backup schedule for computer files, and continually back up all financial records saved to an offsite device or server. So you need to come up with that schedule. Whether it is daily, you are backing up your QuickBooks and financial information, or every Friday, or however, but you need to make sure that you do develop that schedule and stick to it because you never know when something is going to happen, and you don't want it to be a total loss for all of your financial information. And excuse me, you can find helpful resources such as toolkits, checklists, and safety tips on the SBA website. So Brittany has been kind enough to share the links for that in the chat. So if you'd like to copy down those links, anything like that, please feel free to. And they are here as well. These are the links that she is sharing. So, plan activation. Depending on the type of disaster, your disaster preparedness plan will be either proactive or reactive. So, proactive is when you can activate your plan when you're made aware of an imminent disaster, such as some weather related occurrences, anticipated civil unrest, or received threats. So, this is just meaning, okay, this is what's getting ready to happen. Let's go ahead and put our plan into motion right now. Let's just get prepared for this. And then reactive. So when you can activate your plan after the disaster has occurred, such as some weather related occurrences, arson, active threats, or cyber attacks. These are things that you're not prepared for. These are things that, happen on a whim. A couple weeks ago, I was sitting here in the office and all of a sudden the building just kind of like, just the pressure changed and it was like, wow, all of this wind came up and it was just ripping and we didn't realize that that was supposed to be happening. And then again, arson or active threats, cyber attacks, those are, human caused. So not everybody is going to send you a big sign saying, hey, I'm going to put a cyber attack on your business at, noon on Thursday. So be prepared. That's not really how that works. So regardless of timing, once the plan is activated, team members should immediately assume their assigned roles and duties. So post-disaster, you need to assess the damages and or losses, contact your insurance, develop the plan of action to restore business operations, and the team member designated to contact vendors and customers should start reaching out. You want to keep your vendors and your customers in the know. If your vendor is in California and they have no idea what's going on here in Missouri about flooding, fires, earthquakes, anything like that, and they, ship out your new shipment, well, you've got a brand new shipment of your widgets sitting outside of a building that you can't use, or that shipment can't reach your building. So always be in contact with your vendors and your customers as well. If you have an online business that you do sales online, again, you're shipping something to someone in Maine. They need to be aware that, hey, this is going on and there's going to be a delay, or communicate clearly with them. That way you don't run the risk of losing that customer, losing that sale. All right, and then you want to analyze your plan. Once a business operations have been restored, take time to analyze how effective your plan was. Was communication effective? And that communication is from the person who sets the plan in motion to the emergency response team. How did the team communicate with themselves? And then also, how was that communication with your vendors? How was that communication with your customers? Was it effective? Was it thorough? Was it clearly stated what's going on? Did team members understand their roles and effectively carry out their duties? Brittany, you were supposed to call our customers. Did you understand that you were supposed to call the customers? Did you understand when you were supposed to call the customers? And did you clearly state that message to them? And how did this work out for you? What is your feedback on that? Were there any particular strengths or weaknesses? When you've completed your analysis, amend your plan as needed and continue to review and provide trainings to your team on the plan annually or as amendments are made. So as there are changes to the plan, have a training, have a meeting. As people, as there are employee turnovers, have a meeting and have a new training for that. So disaster relief. After disaster strikes, get help. The SBA provides low interest loans to help businesses recover from declared disasters. And how do you use that SBA disaster loan? These cover losses that are not covered by insurance or funding from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA. And they cover business operating expenses that could have been met had the disaster not occurred. And the types of SBA disaster loans for small businesses. Again, Brittany is sharing the links for that in the chat. So if you'd like to copy those links, please feel free to. So there are business physical disaster loans. This is for businesses that experienced damage to your business and are in a declared disaster area. And this covers disaster losses not fully covered by insurance. Economic injury disaster loans for businesses that experienced substantial economic injury and are in a declared disaster area. And this provides working capital when the business is unable to meet its obligations and to pay its ordinary and necessary operating expenses. And then we also have this military, or the SBA rather, also has the Military Reservist Economic Injury Loans. This provides funds to an eligible small business to help meet its ordinary and necessary operating expenses that it could have met but is unable to because an essential employee was called up to active duty in their role as a military reservist. All right, and then Tom, if you want to hop in and do you have slides that you're presenting, or are you just going to go over a few things?
I actually have a couple slides.
Okay,
They'll be
okay,
close to what you got there, but a few different things. So,
okay, perfect. Let me stop sharing this. And come on, why is that not?
Kelly, it's not a big deal. I can actually just go off what I have if it's not working right. It's a computer. Those things happen.
I am so sorry.
Not a
It's
big deal. Let's just do that, and we'll keep on trucking here.
all right. I'm sorry.
So no problem at all. First of all, I want to compliment you on. I mean that was a very thorough presentation. So that was all really good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, from the SBA side, we're just going to piggyback on that a little bit. Everything they said was very accurate and very timely with the weather as it is right now in that. So from the SBA side, 25% of businesses actually don't reopen after a major disaster. So being prepared and doing all those proactive things are more important than you can possibly imagine, because being reactive is just that's not a good thing. So, preparing yourself with an up-to-date plan of action is great. And I really like the two websites or links that you put in the chat, because that's actually one thing I was going to mention is that ready.gov that's where we tell everybody to go. So excellent resource. So again, from the SBA side, we actually offer loans not just to businesses so first of all, disaster has to be declared. So the way it works is anytime a disaster happens, and obviously the internal disasters, SBA is not going to be able to react to other than what you just presented is helping you get prepared for that. So when a big disaster occurs, a natural disaster occurs, hurricane, tornado, fires, earthquakes, things of that nature, the governor will have to declare a disaster and request assistance from the government, and then the administrator of SBA would open up the economic injury disaster program for businesses, but that actually also includes homeowners. So, and homeowners, renters, and all that kind of deal. So, if you have a personal loss, you can actually get an economic injury disaster loan for real estate, property, machinery, equipment, inventory, and like you mentioned, the active duty military. So the way that kind of works is FEMA comes in first, and you have to apply with FEMA. But the deal with FEMA is FEMA actually has two different sections. So FEMA comes in and they work as the first responder, and then they will give you a minimal amount of money for your business or your home, either way. And that's going to basically just get you by for the temporary deal while everything is assessed and things move forward. So it's a stipend, if you will. Then you have to apply with SBA for an economic injury disaster loan. And the interesting thing about that is you can actually get an economic injury disaster loan, not just to cover your business or home, but actually to help you mitigate for future issues. So for example, if we had major torrential rains and flooding and your house is, say, on a hill, so all the water runs down the hill at your house, you can actually get additional funding from SBA for this disaster loan, where you could actually put in, like, say, a landscape berm with a drain tile to help divert water away from your house so that that would never happen again. So kind of an interesting twist. For a hurricane, they might help you they might give you money to put up hurricane shutters and things like that. So, and all these loans are actually in it's a very low interest rate. They do change. The pandemic interest rates were 3.75% over 30 years. It's never a penalty to repay them early. And the most recent one with the flooding in July here, I want to say they were like 1.6%. Again, all the economic injury disaster loans are for 30 years. So you get 1.6% for 30 years. That's a pretty low interest rate. Not going to find that anywhere else. Anyway, that's the loan side. And then if by perchance you wouldn't qualify for a disaster loan and you would get declined, then you can actually go back to FEMA and apply for additional assistance, and that actually becomes grant money. But you have to apply for the SBA loan first before you can get any additional grant money. So that is kind of the little bit extra that I had for the disaster part. I do want to add that, Christy has to leave now. So Christy, it's nice talking to you. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to any of us.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
and then Christy, I'll get the recording to you as soon as we wrap up today.
So, and actually for the Kelly, Brittany, and Marquita, if you don't know that, Kelly, you mentioned you have you're kind of the resource person to go out and find additional resources. Feel free to reach out to me. We're happy to help kind of maneuver into any other resources we can help you find, because we have a lot of different contacts for different things, quite a big network. So we're happy to help you get the word out to all your folks. We're just happy you're here working with us and helping us on everything.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will keep you in my back pocket then.
Yeah, please do. So on our side, kind of our little spiel, and you may already know this. If you do, stop me. But you guys are part of our counseling network now, and I know you've hired SCORE as a spoke, so that is fantastic. We do have 3 other resource partners: the Women's Business Center, the Veterans Business Center, and the Small Business Development Center. If you have any issues with technical stuff, the Small Business Development Center is really good with real technical things. It used to be the Small Business Technology or Technical Development Center, so technical is in their name. And then we also have, if you're interested in doing anything on government contracting, we do government contracting across the board, and we have a business opportunity specialist who does presentations on government contracting. So if that's of interest to any of your folks that come in, we'd be happy to partner up with you on that too for a government contracting session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we want to go ahead and stop the recording for wrapping this up, since we're going to post that, and then we can continue?
Yeah, let me go
All right.
ahead.
Thank you.